Hey, next on the T Nation, thanks for coming back and joining me for part two of this week's show featuring one of my all-time favorite people, a guest that's been with me for several years and whose content has just been outstanding. That is LPGA Professional Hall of Famer now, Cindy Miller. Cindy has been a wonderful part of this show, and she is just racking up the Hall of Fame inductions. To give you a flavor of what I'm talking about, Cindy has been inducted into the Greater Buffalo Sports Hall of Fame, the Chautauqua Sports Hall of Fame, like I say, the LPGA Professionals Hall of Fame, and later this spring, she's going to be inducted into the University of Miami Sports Hall of Fame, and that just gives you a flavor for how great Cindy Miller is. This conversation is wonderful as all the others. She's got a lot of great information and tips and helping us not only with our golf swings, but with our golf minds as well. So you know what? Sit back, relax, let us take your mind off everything else going on in your life for the next hour or so. But before we get started, I want to remind you about our great friends over at 2 Under. 2 Under men's performance briefs are the unofficial underwear of the PGA, Ryder Cup, and President's Cup teams, and are sold in over 3,000 golf pro shops and golf specialty retailers nationwide. Ricky Fowler is their global ambassador, and over 50 other PGA, Korn Ferry, and Champions Tour players wear them. Just to mention a few, they are David Toms, Jerry Kelly, Justin Thomas, William McGirt, Scott McCarron, and Chris DeMarco. The Joey Pouch technology provides the ultimate male asset management, delivering maximum comfort from the tee box to the boardroom to the bedroom. Go to 2under.com to check out the bundle specials that offer substantial discounts for being a Next on the Tee listener. That's the number 2, UNDR.com. 2 Under, performance in your pants. Coming up next, Christopher Carter is going to make a return visit to the show. He's got a wonderful new book out that's going to help us have more fun when we're out there playing on the course. Before I bring him into the show, let's talk about our friends over at Squares Golf. And folks, do you sway and you're off balance in your golf swing? You know what? It could be your shoes. A golf shoe needs structure to provide stability and reduce sway. How can you tell if your shoes lack structure and are hurting your game? If you can hold your shoes by the toe and heel and twist it, toss it. Squares was designed for the perfect balance of structure and comfort. Isn't it time you tried Squares? Try the new Speedbolt at squares.com. That's SQAIRZ.com.
Every January, PGA Tour Superstore pros meet every manufacturer, learn about the latest equipment, log thousands of hours of training, and together hit over 100,000 balls. All so they can get you the perfect fit.
Okay, now making it an even baker's dozen number of times with me is one of my all-time favorite guests, and people on the planet for that matter, and that is Cindy Miller. Everything Cindy has touched has become infinitely better because she was there. She was a walk-on at the University of Miami in the late 70s and was told she wasn't good enough. She didn't accept that. She worked extremely hard, became team captain and an All-American her senior year. She led them to back-to-back national championships in 1977 and 78. Also during 1978, she won the New York State Amateur Championship as well. The following year, she qualified for the LPGA Tour. She played in 5 U.S. Opens. A few years later, she turned her attention to teaching the game, and all she did was become the LPGA Teacher of the Year in 2010. A couple of years ago, during the PGA Merchandise Show, the LPGA recognized her as an elite-level teacher. In 2011, she was inducted into the Greater Buffalo Sports Hall of Fame. In 2014, she was inducted into the Chautauqua Sports Hall of Fame. Last September, it was announced that she was becoming a member of the 2024 class of the LPGA Professionals Hall of Fame, and this year coming up on April 17th, the University of Miami will be inducting her into their Sports Hall of Fame. She's got a new book coming out titled Take Another Shot at Business Golf for Life, which I can't wait to hear and read, and I'm very excited. She is back with me again this week here on Next on the Tee. Hey, Cindy, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm fantastic, thank you. Better now that you're a part of the show, I can tell you that.
Awful nice.
Nice.
Full of crap.
Let's go with the former and not the latter. All right, so Cindy, first of all, congratulations. 2 more Hall of Fames recognize your great talent. What was it like for you being inducted into the LPGA Professionals Hall of Fame?
Well, you know what? It hasn't happened yet. It's going to be in May.
Is that
So
right?
yeah, Miami, they announced it in September.
Yeah.
Miami's going to happen on April 17th, and the LPGA is going to be May 19th.
Wow. Okay. So back to
Yeah.
back thing is late spring. How good is
Yeah.
that?
Pretty cool, isn't it?
Yes.
Isn't that amazing?
So you have spent a lifetime giving back to the game that you love. And I think it's just so wonderful that over the last, what, 14 years or so, the game has given back to you by recognizing your great talent. That to me, if in your quiet moments, that's got to be awfully fulfilling.
You know what? It is, but you don't. I think I'm such a speeder, and I don't think I thought about it until COVID hit. And it's like that Forrest Gump movie. And my son, we have three beautiful children, and my middle son is a lunatic like me. And he said, you need to like take a chill pill. And I said, I feel like I've been running from Buffalo to California. And now all of a sudden I stopped and I went, wow, I've been running a long time. And I think it's because I had to, probably. And now it's like, oh, okay, yeah, we've done a lot of stuff here. And I don't think I've thought about it, but now it's like, oh yeah, we've done a lot of stuff. And I didn't try to do a lot of stuff. It was just like, no, we got to keep going. We got to keep going. We got to, and I like to help people that want to get better to get better. In writing the book, they said, well, who's this for? And I said, well, it's for people that want to get better. If you don't want to get better, don't read the book.
Well, there you go. But I mean, to that end, right? You talk about how you've been running hard essentially your whole life. At some point in time, I mean, I'm assuming you're talking about Jamie said you need to take a chill pill, but I think at some point you've got to give yourself credit for the things that you've done and the lives that you've touched and all the games you've made better and all the people's lives because you've touched a lot of lives, not just talking about the game of golf and about somebody's golf swing. You've made people's lives better. You've changed lives over the course of your life. And so has Alan. But looking back, I think you've got to be able to say to yourself, you know what? We did some good here.
Well, don't make me cry. Um, but I think when Dominic DeStoli called or emailed us last year, right before Christmas, and he asked if we would be willing to share Alan's story for the PGA Tour Series radio feature.
Yep.
And we looked at each other and we said, well, yeah, I mean, the story's been out before. Dominic read about Alan's story in Sports Illustrated magazine. And he came up to the house and he interviewed us for 10 hours.
Wow.
And yeah, and Jamie and Matt were here, and our daughter Kelly lives in Orlando because she works for the Golf Channel. She works for Golf Pass. And I I had shared, because he wanted to know scoop on us and the story and all the smut and the yucky stuff. And for the listeners who don't know, Alan and I are the only married couple in the world that have played on the PGA Tour, the LPGA Tour, the PGA Tour champions, and the legends of the LPGA. And Alan was an alcoholic, and he tried to commit suicide. And we've got a pretty good story and a miracle that we're still married and everybody's okay. But I had started to write a book, and I had hired a literary agent. And the literary agent took the book around to a bunch of publishing houses, and they all said, oh, wow, this is a great story, but she's not famous enough to write it. And so I was like,
Really?
oh, yeah. And this was like 10 or 12 years ago. And I was pretty good friends with Kathy Whitworth. And one of the lessons in the book is, and it's probably not blatant, but it's be humble. and ask for help. And you know what? I've got my assignment for the next week is to read it 3 times out loud. And I probably have to put that somewhere in there. But I would sit behind Kathy Whitworth and Joanne Carner, and I would sit behind these people and they go, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "I'm watching you." "Well, why are you watching me?" I go, "Well, because I want to learn something." And "Well, how are you going to do it?" I said, "Because you're better than me and I want to learn something," because I knew I wasn't good enough. And so why am I saying all this? Because I was so hungry to get better, and I wasn't going to fail. Let's put it that way. And so when I lost my card and we got married and I got pregnant with Kelly, and I went from, LPGA tour player to PGA tour wifey poo, and then mother, and then Alan quit playing, and then we started to teach, and he said, "Well, I want to teach." I go, "Teach? I don't want to teach. What, are you kidding me? You want me to help, rich women who don't know how to catch a ball learn to hit a ball? I'm going to want to kill these people." And Alan said, "No, no, no, no. I'm going to teach you how to do this because Alan reads directions and I don't read directions. And, we're total opposite people. And he's a nice guy and I'm a competitive creep." And so he taught me to understand the swing. And then I was like, "Well, where were you when I was 15?" And, he's like 8 years older than me. And I was enlightened by his brilliance. And he's the second purest ball striker Dave Pell's ever tested. And I was like, "Oh my God, this is so easy." So I took his brilliant, he could have been an engineer, right? And I dumb blonded it. And so when someone comes in for a lesson, I'm so competitive. I look at people in the eye and they have no idea I'm doing this to them. But I'm thinking and saying to myself, "I'm going to make you better than you ever thought you could be." And that's my sick competitive nature, but it's worked for 40 years.
Wow.
So that's why I love teaching. And they can tell that I love helping them. And so that's, I know I'm right. I know I'm going to help you. And because Alan's theory is right. And hey, my husband played in the Masters 5 times. He's second purest ball striker Dave Pell's ever tested. He played on the tour for 15 years. If I could have taught him to putt, we'd be rich. I wouldn't be helping you, living on a boat somewhere, And so they trust me because I'm from Buffalo and I speak like I'm from Buffalo. Anyway, so that's why I love teaching, because I know no one's trying to miss it on purpose, because I wasn't trying to miss it on purpose. Nobody wants to miss it on purpose. So I'm like, "Come here, let me help you. I'm going to make this easy." And they're like, "No, you're not." I go, "Oh, yeah, I am." And they're like, "Wow, that was great." I go, "Yeah, let's do it again." So I think I change their mindset because they don't believe they can do it. And that's why I had to write the book, because I tell a lot of, they're all my stories. There's 18 lessons of my stories. But then at the end of the chapter or the whole, it's my little it box. "Okay, there's a nail. You got to get off the nail. Stop whining. Well, I can't hit it." Shut up. Let's get off the nail. Let's look in the mirror. I had somebody today, "I can't be consistent." Well, yes, you can. Where's the ball going? Let's think about what you just did with the club. I'm not holding the club. You're holding the club. And then let's plant a seed and fix it. So,
So you gotta explain to people, when you say get off the nail, what does that mean?
okay. So there's a traveling salesman who sells seed to the agway plant. He gets lost. He's driving down a road. He can't find the plant. He's in farm country. He sees a driveway. He pulls down the driveway. He sees a farmer sitting on the porch in a rocking chair, smoking a pipe. Laying next to him is a black lab. He says to the farmer, "Forgive me, but I got lost. Can you give me directions to the agway plant?" "Oh, yeah, no problem. You go down here, you turn, blah, blah, blah." Well, he hears the dog, and he thinks the dog is growling, but he's like, "Oh," and the dog is whining. So he doesn't want to ask him, but he gets the directions. He goes, "Thank you so much. I really appreciate it." He's turning around. He's walking back to his car. And the dog does it again. And he's like, "Oh." And he goes, "Well, forgive me, but I have to ask you, what's the matter with your dog?" He said, "Oh, nothing. He's just laying on a nail." He goes, "Well, laying on a nail, why doesn't he get up?" He said, "Because it doesn't hurt bad enough." So, how long have you been laying on a nail? People lay on nails. Well, I hate my job. Well, why don't you do something about it? Why don't you study harder? Why don't you get a promotion? Why don't you try a different job? I can't stand my husband. I can't stand my wife. Well, and again, my whole life when Alan was an alcoholic, it was always Alan's fault. Well, what are you doing? Why don't you look in the mirror? So I have this little it box. First thing in the box is get off the nail. We're only motivated by two things. We either want to seek reward. So in the golf thing, oh, I want to break 100. Or I have to stop shanking it. So we want to seek reward or we want to stop pain. I've got to stop slicing my driver. It's costing me a fortune in golf balls. Okay, so you want to stop pain. Or I want to break 80. I'm seeking reward. I want to win the club championship. So you're either seeking reward or you want to stop pain. The second thing in that box is look in the mirror. Okay, so I'm shanking it. Okay, why are you shanking it? Well, the face is open. Why is the face open? Well, you're either moving forward or you're pulling with your left arm. Oh, well, they told me to get my weight to my left side if you're a right-hander. Well, if you get your weight to your left side too fast, you're going to be way ahead of the ball, and that's going to make you shank it. Oh, well, they didn't tell me that. Well, of course they didn't tell you that. But let's look at what's happening. Oh, I had no idea. Well, they're not going to tell you that. Oh, and then if you pull through with your left arm, you're going to get your grip ahead of the head. And if the grip is ahead of the head, the face is going to be wide open. So now when you outskate the puck and you get your weight way forward and your hands are way forward, it's a Japanese fade and it's going dead right. Oh my God, I had no idea. Well, now how are we going to stop it? Well, let's put all our weight on our right foot, pick up our left heel, and make the club head get to the ball first. Well, you might hit it dead left. Well, that's better than shanking it. Well, let's start doing that. So second thing in the box is a mirror. And the third thing in the box is a seed. Well, what's the seed? Well, why don't we plant a seed and start hitting some balls? Okay. Or let's say it's not golf. Let's say you're going to stop criticizing your husband. Oh, that could be hard. Okay. So for us, we went to a seminar one time, and the lady up front was talking about how her husband drove her nuts. So I started sitting on the edge of my chair, and I'm like, I got one of them. And she had written a book called Personality Plus. Well, I couldn't get to the back of the room fast enough to buy the book. So I bought the book, and in the back of the book was a personality assessment. So, of course, I took it for me, and then I took it for Alan because I thought he was helpless and couldn't take it himself. And then I started reading off all of his weaknesses to him, of course, just to make sure he knew what was wrong with him. And then I had a delayed intelligence attack. And I really looked at him and I go, oh my God, you can't help yourself. I thought you acted like this on purpose just to drive me nuts. And I didn't mean it to sound the way it did, but it dawned on me that that's really who he was. So I fell in love with the guy that I saw at the Doral Eastern Open a million years ago playing in that tournament when I was at the University of Miami. And the first thing I thought when I saw him swing a club is, does anyone swing that smooth? I wish I could swing that smooth because I swing like a lunatic, right? And then you marry someone and you're like, can you please hurry up? Right? So you marry someone because you fall in love with their strengths, which is smooth, and then you think that's his weakness. And then you browbeat him for that. Well, that's not a good thing. So this was such a big deal, this personality stuff, that I went to get certified in it. And now we do corporate training stuff and help companies learn how to get along. I mean, it saved our marriage, to be honest with you.
And it's also impacted positively the lives of people off the golf course, which is why I say You've done so much for people, whether it's you help me figure out how to hit the ball straight, but beyond that, you've helped people in their relationships and their careers and in their lives in general. To me, that's a thing to sit back and say, man, we have done so many great things. I have done so many great things. What a wonderful life this has been.
Well, again, I just want to help people. And if my story can help someone. So my biggest fear, so our daughter Kelly, as I've told you, is a producer at, Golf Pass. She's in charge of what goes on there. And I've got this revisions editor at the book who's like my English police officer. And I am not the English major. And she's like, oh, your citations. And I'm like, what the hell is a citation? Right. And so we've got a system going where I would write the chapter, I would give it to Kelly, and Kelly's like, Mother, you can't say that. I'm like, why? It's funny. And she goes, you can say that in a speech. So I'll give you an example. I met Alan because we used to play skins games at the University of Miami. Every Friday afternoon, the girls' team and the guys' team would play skins games, and we would bet. And then we'd go to the Rathskeller and we'd, have a few pops. Well, this guy was always sitting at the bar with $100 bills. And I'm not stupid, right? And he was buying shots. And he was a professional gambler, and his name was Dirtbag. And so I became really good friends with him. And he told me that he was one of Pat Bradley's sponsors. And I'm like, yeah, you're so full of crap. Well, he wasn't. He was truly one of Pat Bradley's sponsors. So this is Keegan Bradley's aunt, right?
Yeah.
And so he said, my buddy Alan Miller's coming to play at Doral. I'll get you a free ticket. I said, okay. So in the book I write, by the way, did I tell you people from Buffalo are really good at shots? Mother, you can't say that in the book. I go, why not? It's funny and it's true. No, you got to take that out. You can say it as a speech, but don't say it in the book. So now I'm saying it on the radio. But
that's a great
anyway,
thing.
No, I know. But so anyway, little things like that. So she's been my, I guess, my editing police officer. And so she's made sure it's all right. But I said to her, is anybody going to care about these stories? Because each chapter, like the first chapter's courage, second chapter's vision. I went blind when I was in third grade. I dove in the shallow end of the pool at the club and I went blind, and that's about vision. And then, I had a very difficult upbringing. My parents were alcoholics. My father used to beat the crap out of my mother, and it was pretty scary. And so I tell stories about that. And then I tell stories about, I was always swimming in the pool. I didn't like golf. And then I got fat in eighth grade, and all the cute boys in the pool started calling me 10-ton Tessie. Well, now I'm not going to go in the pool anymore. And the only other option was to go play golf. And I'm like, ugh, I hate golf, right? And then I got pretty good at it. And then my mom and her friends took me to an LPGA tour event, and I was 17 at the time. Well, who I saw was Laura Ball. And I'm like, oh, I love the bag. I love the shoes. She's cute. She's got great clothes on, and I want to do what she does. And that's what the dream was born. So thank you, Laura. And now we're friends. So isn't it funny how things happen?
Indeed. Cindy, peeling all the layers back and getting to the heart of things, and the heart of things is very key here. You are so good at teaching people. You enjoy teaching people. People have success when they are working with you. You're writing this book. It's going to have a profound effect on a lot of people's lives. I think the reason that you are so successful and what sets you apart from a lot of others is the word love. I think you love doing what you do. I think people can sense that you love doing what you do. And that has been a difference maker for you.
You know what? You're probably right. Because you know what? Nobody tries to miss it on purpose.
No.
And you know what? We've got this nonprofit thing we're doing now. And I just got a big grant from Jim Kelly. And I'm like, we got all this money. What are we going to do? None of these teachers want to help these kids. And one of my daughter-in-laws said, let's just do a big event. Let's do an off-site big event. And I go, you know what? Let's do it at the Bill Stadium.
Oh,
And
now you're
and my
talking.
whole and my book starts with, "You're not good enough, Cindy." And guess what everybody's been saying to them? They're not good enough. And guess what happens when you're from Buffalo and people tell you you're not good enough? You work harder. You get off the nail,
Yeah.
you look in the mirror, and you plant a seed. So we met with the girl at the Bill Stadium, and we're going to do it next fall on a Tuesday, and we're going to have a couple of the Bills players. One of them was home, Ray Davis. He said he's going to check on the date. We're going to wait until the schedule comes out, and we're going to have him talk, and we're going to bust some kids in from a couple school districts. We're probably going to have 150 kids. And we're going to have little breakout sessions, and we're going to teach these kids how to pursue their potential. And one of my other daughter-in-laws has got a bunch of homeless kids in her class, and we're going to teach them how to get, do, and be better.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And speaking of Jim Kelly, now you're going to be in the Hall of Fame at the Sports Hall of Fame for the University of Miami, along with Jim Kelly.
Got it, baby.
How awesome is that?
That's awesome.
Yes.
His birthday was the other day. So was mine.
Is that right? So was yours.
Yeah.
Just a couple of days ago.
Yeah. I was 3 days before him.
Cindy, I want to go back to something that you mentioned earlier and you've talked about on the show in previous visits. You get to Miami, they tell you you're not good enough. Now you want to write a book and they tell you you're not famous enough. Many people would have folded up the tent and gone away, but not you. You came back, you worked harder like you talked about, you made the team, you became an All-American, you won a couple of national championships. You get out on the LPGA tour, you play there. You play in 5 women's U.S. Opens. And now you have written a book. Talk about how you were able to overcome all of those negative voices and accomplish the great things that you have and gone on to written this book and many other great things.
You know what? It's funny because I did a podcast for Miami few weeks ago, and the guy said, "Cindy, every person that I've ever interviewed that was a kind of a big shot or an athlete that was told they weren't good enough, they didn't believe the person." He said, "You believed the person, but you did it anyway." And I said, "Well, they were right. I wasn't good enough, but I was willing to look in the mirror and see what I could do to fix it." And maybe I sought out, again, I think I took lessons, like even when I was on the tour, I would sit behind Carner and Whitworth. I can remember being at a Legends Tour event, even when I was writing the book, and she gave me a testimonial, and she's passed away, right? And so I asked Betty, her partner, and I said, "Betty, do you care? Is it okay if I use the testimonial that Kathy gave me when I was writing this book?" And she said, "Absolutely, Cindy." Because Kathy used to laugh at me. She's like, "Oh, Miller, you're something else. Will you please relax and swing slower?" And she would tease me all the time. But I so looked up to her because she's the best woman player ever that won more tournaments than anything. She knew that I was searching. And see, I believe that if you're supposed to learn something, you have to keep seeking. And eventually you're going to find the right person that'll help you. And I was lucky enough to find Alan and Carner and Whitworth and Donna Capone Young. I mean, all these women, they laughed at me. But you know what? Even Jane Blaylock. I mean, I would ask for help. And nobody else would do that. They were afraid of these people. Why are you afraid of them? They're better than you. Right?
Yeah.
Lopez, all those guys. I would compliment them. That's why they like me. It was true. They're all in the Hall of Fame for playing. I'm in the Hall of Fame for teaching. I'm better at teaching than they are. If they're going to do a clinic, I'm like, no, don't get them to do the clinic. They suck at the clinic. I'm better at the clinic. So again, I guess what I'm saying is, if you're supposed to do something and you feel it in your heart and you really want to do it, keep looking for the answer. When I took lessons when I was younger, here's what happened. When I had an interview, well, this is true, and I don't think I told you the story. Dom came to the house and I said to him, Dom, will you help me when he interviewed us for this PGA Tour Series radio thing? And he goes, wow, this is really good. I gave him 3 chapters of the book from way long ago, right? I go, will you help me write it? And he goes, Cindy, I just don't have time. I go, oh boy, here we go again. Because I thought, oh, maybe maybe it's time now. Here's the book, right? He goes, let me give you somebody else's name. So he did, and it was really close to Christmas. And this was not this past Christmas, the Christmas before. And I go, okay, it's too close to Christmas, so I'm not going to reach out to this guy. On Christmas Day, 2023, no lie, I got a message on LinkedIn from a guy. My name is Eric Koester. I just read your bio. Have you ever thought of writing a book? I own a company called manuscripts.com, and I'm a professor at Georgetown University. I'm like, are you kidding me right now? And the little voice said to my head, this might be a Christmas present, you jerk.
Wow.
I read the bio, and I'm like, oh my God, I got to reach back out to this guy. So I did, and I had a 10-minute call with him. And he said, let's do another call. And I go, I got to have my daughter on the call because Kelly's like my agent. She's the Gestapo, right? And so when we were on this longer call, he said, what's your unconventional wisdom? And I said, what do you mean, my unconventional wisdom? He goes, what do you do or believe that's different than everyone else? I said, I'm not sure I really understand what the question is. He goes, all these people do something one way and you do it or say it another way. I go, I really don't know if I get it. I said, well, let me give you an example. I said, when I was younger and I was taking lessons, everyone would tell me what I was doing wrong. You looked up, you came over the top. That's all I ever heard. You're coming over the top. Stop coming over the top. And I kind of wanted to yell and say, I'm not trying to mess this up. Why don't you show me how to do it right? And I would get angry. Like, I'm not trying to mess this up. If you're so smart, why don't you show me how to do it right? But I didn't say that because I was trying to be respectful, right? So I said, when I teach now, I tell people the committee of they is going to tell you got to keep your head down, your left arm straight, shift your weight, turn your shoulders, hit the ball, follow through. I do not want you to listen to the committee. They're always going to criticize you. They're going to tell you everything you're doing wrong. From now on, no more committee of they. I'm going to tell you how to do it right. And this Eric Koester goes, there's your unconventional wisdom.
Yeah.
Never listen to the committee of they. I go, oh, okay. So the whole book is about me being told I'm not good enough. How many people have told you you're not smart enough? You're too fat. You're too skinny. You can't do this. The negative voices. The ones who sit on the sidelines that are never in the game, always criticizing you. So you can't listen to them. And sometimes that voice is in your own head.
So let's take that a step further. The negative voices and all of the things that, whether it's the committee of they, especially nowadays on social media, because places like Twitter are a cesspool of negativity. I feel like the negative voices and the negative social media cost us about 10 or 20 more years of Lexi Thompson, because she's talked about how, words hurt.
Yes.
And I think the negative words drove her out of the game.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, God bless her. She needs a hug.
Yeah, I struggle with it, Cindy. I mean, I think a lot of the things that you've talked about during the course of this conversation might change a career, because I think everybody drove Lexi Thompson out of the game because she just couldn't stand it anymore. She couldn't take it anymore. Maybe she was too open with people. Maybe she was too out there and available on social
Well,
media
honey,
and
she
in
started
interviews.
when she was 11. Look at
Yeah,
Grayson Murray,
yeah. Well, God rest his soul.
right? I mean,
Yeah.
how many, and no offense, but Haley Ledbetter and James Ledbetter, there was a post on Instagram today about golf parents. I mean, we were the Under Armour Junior League directors for Buffalo, and Alan said, we can't do it anymore. And 99% of it is the parents. Hey, did they qualify for nationals? Hey, And I'm like, you know what? Can your kid just play with dolls for a little bit? You know, I'm
Yeah.
like, you just stop. It's okay for you to want him to do well, but let him be a kid for a little while. I
Yeah.
mean, and if you listen to Alan's feature, go to my YouTube channel, Cindy Miller Golf, and look at Worth, the Alan Miller story, and listen to that. I mean, again, these parents are gonna, yeah, it's terrible.
I just, I,
And look at all the girls that quit playing the tour this year. I mean, they're not having fun.
That's there you go. I think that's the key, right? Having fun. And I think it's our fault, not your fault, specifically Cindy Miller. I think it's we the fans' fault. I think it's social media's fault. I think it's, too much pressure from parents' fault. I mean, the idea that the game, quote unquote, of golf is just that, right? I mean, I remember Jack Nicklaus, a story that, one of the guys that wrote his autobiography, and, Jack famously comes off and just lost to Tom Watson, and boy, Jack, I guess you probably don't want to have dinner with us tonight. And he's like, why? It's just a game. I mean, that to me, that's the healthy attitude. I just don't think enough of us put that into play, even those of us that play it on weekends with our buddies, because it's so serious. And wait, I got to win this hole. I got to win today. I got to shoot this. We're so full of our own expectations. We've lost the idea that it's just a game and we should be outside having fun with our friends in a beautiful setting on a lovely day. But we get so wrapped up in ourselves, we get so full of ourselves that we've taken the fun out of the game.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. I mean, again, and then here's the worst part. What's his name and likeness? I mean, our son is the president of the New York State Golf Association. I go, wait a minute, are these kids getting paid to go to college and play golf? I go, what's with the amateur status? I mean, and he goes, well, I've been talking to the USGA. I mean, this is so wrong. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So now they're all posting on Instagram trying to get the biggest following so that they can get paid to go to college. And it's like, well, you're going to get paid to go to college, but can you shoot? Can you break 80? Are you going to get paid to go to college because you got 250,000 followers, but you can't break 85? So who cares? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, this is ridiculous. And that's why I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I would rather go help. I helped a woman today who never touched a club in her life, who's pounding the back wall, giving me a hug. Yeah, let's go. This is going to be fun.
Yes. And that's really what the game is supposed to be all about.
Yeah. So.
All right. So before I let you go, first of all, you got to give me an update. How are Jamie, Matthew, and Kelly and the grandkids? How's everyone doing?
Everybody's great. Everybody's
That's awesome.
great.
That's
Thank
awesome.
God.
Yeah, no kidding. All right. So for all of our listeners now are saying, I got to get this book. They're the person running in the back of the room like you did, saying, hey, I got to get a copy of this book. When are we going to be able to get an opportunity to do that?
Well, you can buy a pre-sale copy right now. And if you buy a pre-sale copy right now, you get 3 online golf courses. Golf, not a physical golf course, a course that's, yeah, no. You get
Where's my golf course, Cindy? Where's my golf course? You promised me a course.
Yeah, online golf courses. So if you go to cindymillertraining.com/presale, presale, SALE, cindymillertraining.com/presale. And you can see all these different offers.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So when do you think you'll be shipping books out?
Hopefully by May 20th.
That's awesome. Cindy, you're awesome.
Thanks, Chris. You're really nice.
You're one of my favorite people on the planet because of all the things.
Stop it.
It's the truth. I mean, everything that you've done for our game and everything you've meant to me. Again, this is a baker's dozen time that you've been so kind to come on and share your thoughts and your wisdom with me and our listeners. So I can't thank you enough for that. I can't thank you enough for everything that you've done for the game. And then for all of us to get back to a place where we enjoy the game, because what comes across every time we talk and every time you do a lesson is how much you love the game and you love helping us get better. And that's why you're the very best. And that's why you're in so many Hall of Fame.
Well, thank you, honey. That's what it's all about, is let's take another shot and try to get better. Right?
Indeed.
It's never too late to take another shot. As long as you're alive, let's try again.
100%. Thank you, Cindy, for taking time out of your night to come back and be a part of the show. You're fantastic.
Thanks, honey. Have a great night.
You do the same. My best to you and Alan and the kids.
Thanks, sweetie. Bye-bye.
See you, Cindy.
Bye.
That is the great Cindy Miller, folks. And if you haven't figured out, by the course of this conversation, you learned why she is in so many Hall of Fames, why people seek her out, why corporations seek her out, why people seek her out to be their teacher. And on top of being the teacher, from a game perspective, she's teaching you about life and how to enjoy your life more and how to make more out of it and how not to get stopped and not to quit and all of those things. She's just one of the great people you get to meet in this life. And she's doing so many wonderful things constantly for all of us and for the game and to help you play better. At Cindy Miller Golf is where you're going to find her online, cindymillergolf.com, and at Cindy Miller Golf on social media. Reach out to her. And this book is, I can't wait to get my hands on a copy. cindymillertraining.com/presale is how you can do it. It'll get in your hands on the 20th, and you're going to get some courses along the way to help you play better and enjoy the game more. What more can you ask for out of something, out of an offer and out of someone to help you play the game better? She's just the best. That's the bottom line. All right, my friends, it is time for me to put a bow on this week's edition of Next on the Tee. I want to send out my sincere thanks again to Tom Patry, Frank Darby, and Cindy Miller for joining me this week. Next week, I've got an amazing show scheduled for you. One of the all-time greats, 21-time winner between the PGA and Champions Tours, John Cook, will be back. Cookie always makes the show so much fun and informative, and I can't wait to have him back as part of the show. Making his Next on the Tee debut with me is going to be Jeff Harper. Jeff is the Director of Operations for Byler Holdings. They own and operate 5 courses between Central and Eastern Pennsylvania. Looking forward to having Jeff as part of the show. And then we're going to round things out with a return visit from 2019 Charles Schwab Cup champion Scott McCarron. Scott is a tremendous player and a leader out there on the Champions Tour. Can't wait to catch up with him and talk to him about a variety of topics. So it's going to be a great show, folks. I hope you'll come back and be a part of it with us. I want to thank our friends again over at the Pittsburgh Tribune-Review for hosting this show on their site. For coverage of everything going on in Western Pennsylvania, including your favorite sports, go to triblive.com. You can find this show by clicking on the Sports Section tab, and you're going to find the most recent episode right there on the homepage of the Sports Section. Or you can click on Sports and then Podcast Network, and then you're going to see the Next on the Tee logo. Click on that, and many of the most recent episodes are going to be available for you there as well. You can also find the show out on Good Pods, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, pretty much anywhere you get your podcast content. We're probably on that site as well. And as always, my thanks to the great folks over at Good Pods for making this show one of their recommended podcasts. So please download their free app and stream your favorite podcast right there on your favorite device. But like I say each and every week, my sincere thanks go out to all of you for being the greatest supporters in the history of podcasts. I appreciate each and every one of you so very much. Until next week, hit 'em straight, my friends.
Well, I